All right, folks. Told you that we were going to have a fun podcast. Today we're even recording this one from the headquarters, the galactic headquarters of the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. Bruce Pettet, Tim Lesser, regular. I mean, you guys are almost regulars on my podcast. Did you know that?
I think it's been a while.
I know. But you're still regulars.
Yeah. We've done it a few times.
Most people, we only let them on here once.
Or is it they only want to be on here once? That's the question.
Well, there you go.
Shots fired.
We're just dumb enough to keep coming on, taking the abuse.
Well, okay. However you want to look at that. But it's pretty nice of RMEF to give us a nice quiet space
awesome.
here.
Yeah.
Because they got a lot going on this week. This is the 40th birthday of Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, and we all happen to be here. So
Yeah, it's special.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And I'm, for people who don't know, Bruce, you're the president and CEO of Leupold, right?
I am.
Tim, you're the VP of like 4 different things: product development, marketing. I mean, is there anything you're not the VP of anymore?
Yeah. There's a lot going on over there. So they let me work with the new product and how the stories we tell. But there's a sales crew, an ops crew. There's a lot of folks there. It's a big team effort for sure.
It's so cool to go there. When I got to go see the new distribution center last year or the year before.
Yeah.
Man, you guys got a lot going on.
Yeah, we've got, 750 people that are working every day just making rifle scopes, right here in Oregon and right there in Oregon. I'm in Montana now, but they do such a great job.
Yeah.
And, your comment about all the different roles, I mean, I think that's kind of one of the things that I love about our team is, anyone will and can play any role they have to.
Yeah.
And so they're all kind of united by the same culture of just, kind of, honestly, it's our culture can be summed up into be relentless. I mean, it's not a tagline for us. It's like, okay, we got to get this done. And everybody needs to roll up their sleeves and figure out how to do it. And we do that all the time.
Yeah. So. And I look at, when I did my first factory visit over there in, 2010 or something, the upgrade of equipment and the change of the production lines and the production process, it's like not even, you wouldn't recognize one from today compared to what it was before, just all the new machinery and everything else you guys have.
Yeah, the transformation for us, not only what we've done in terms of the brand, but really what we've done as a manufacturer is traumatic. Yeah. Because if you think about, the last decade in particular, we really made a move into I think product that has so much more performance aspect to it. We've always done great stuff, and it's had a history of innovation, the company. But when you start to think about that you're going to make these premium rifle scopes and how what that means and what you've got to do, it's not just saying you're going to do it. You've got to actually build the infrastructure to do that, and we've grown. So it's not only doing what I would call more complex or more difficult things to produce as a manufacturer, but at the same time, building out the capacity to do more of that. Yeah. And so that equipment that you see, that change is really continuing to invest in what we do as a manufacturer. Yeah. And it's a big deal.
Well, if you guys, people think that I'm like your customer service department sometimes.
Do they? Yeah.
I'm on our Hunt Talk forum. The number of people are like, I wanted to order this, but the SKU says it's out of stock. Anyone work over there? I'm like, work? You should go there and see it. It's like a beehive of people. It's just, I guess that speaks to your demand.
It does. I mean, it's just, we have all-time demand. It continues to, I'm pleased by that. At the same time, we want to get everybody everything they want when they want it. Yeah. And so it can be frustrating too, because it's like we launched a new product this year, and Tim can talk about it more, but the Mark IV, we came out with the Mark IV rifle scope, and it's a fantastic product. And instantly within, I think it was maybe 2 weeks, we knew we had enough, as many orders as we could actually fulfill this year. And I'm like, okay, there goes. So we went from, is everyone going to, the question you have is everyone going to love this, and is this going to be a great product? Yeah. And we had a pretty good idea about that. But then there's still, when you're making it, I don't get to call, 1-800-ASIA and order, I'll take another container of these rifle scopes. I don't get to do that. And so, our commitment is it's got to be made in our factory. And so when we do that, it just goes from problem one, which is I hope everyone's going to love this and it's going to be adopted by the consumer, to how are we going to make enough?
They love it too much.
Yeah, and so I hope it's worth waiting for. That's what I would say. It's worth waiting for. And we're doing, I can assure everyone, we're doing everything we possibly can to maximize our capacity. But the one thing we won't do is we won't give up quality in that quest. Yeah. We won't do it. And so we have to still have the same systems and the same quality. And when you think about, taking 200 and some parts and putting together and guaranteeing it for life like we do, and it's got to work in any temperature, at any altitude, and people expect a Leupold to hold up when they drop it off the side of a mountain. Right. And, all of those things, it's a lot. And so we got to make sure that we're doing that in a way. But that's what makes us different. Yeah. Because we do that well.
No, you do it real well. And I just love coming to a domestic manufacturer that actually does it right there. And you guys let me talk to your employees. And I've come to know a lot of them over the years. And they're such talented people. They're dedicated people because they've been there. How long you been here? And Vicky's like, oh, I've been here like 28 years. And Pete's like, oh, yeah, I've been here like 24 years. I'm like, man, in this day in the world, 24 months is like a record for some of these people, And so it speaks a lot to how you guys are able to do that. Yeah, we domestically compared to the people who got to go.
Yeah, our average employee is, I think, 11 or 12 years now. Yeah. That's the average. Wow. But I gave out an award the other day for a 46-year.
46.
Yeah, so they spent their entire career.
Really? Yeah. Either they worked till they were 70 or they started when they were 12, one or the other.
We don't let people retire until they're pushing 80. That's just a joke. I'm kidding. But we have such good folks that it's so funny because, I see these folks retiring and they just, you look at what they brought to the company over 40 years or 30 years or whatever it is. And it's just like, I'm always kind of begging them, can you consult then? Can you come in once a week? Can you, what can you do? So we love our team, love our people. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, just the new products and other stuff. Tim, you and I get to work a lot on the marketing and the new product side. You guys send us all kinds of new stuff all the time. I was like, oh, check this out. This is my crew. It's to the point where when you guys send stuff, it now goes to my home address. Doesn't come to the office.
Doesn't get filtered through that way?
Yeah, because I don't know if I'm going to get to see it. Like, you guys sent us some Delta Pros. I never even saw them.
Really?
Yeah. They were gone. And I'm like, Kaylee's like, what did you think about the Delta Pros we sent? I'm walking around the office like, did you guys get some Delta Pros from Leupold? Oh, yeah, man. Killed
the turkey with it this morning.
Yeah. They're like, oh, man, I thought they were for us. Well, I guess they are now. But, I do get most of them, though. But that's why they come to my own home address now.
Yeah, you got to get first crack at them.
Smart.
Yeah.
But so this turkey hunt, you guys came to Montana.
Yeah, we're here
over the counter turkey tag. So it's turkey season here.
Yeah.
And who gets to tell the story? Were you both there?
Yeah, no, we both went out. So one of our pro team members that real well is Bo Brooks, and Bo was coming out here for this 40th anniversary as we were, and we had some other meetings and some things we were doing, and I said to Bo said, hey, we should go turkey, and I'm like, absolutely. So I packed my turkey stuff. I have one bag of turkey. And I called Tim and I said, you know what you might want to do? You might want to throw some turkey gear in because we're going to go out. We're going to find a way to go out one morning. Yeah. And so was it yesterday? Day before yesterday. So
day before. Yeah.
So Friday. Friday we went out.
Okay.
It's all blended together.
It does. Yeah. It was yesterday.
Yeah. You're right. So Friday morning we got up at 3:15 a.m. or whatever it was, and we drove out to I don't know, it was probably about 50 minutes outside of Missoula and found some public land out there. It was a Lolo?
The National Forest?
Yeah.
Lolo National Forest.
So we ended up on the Lolo National Forest, and we had when you have Bo calling turkeys for you,
you got the advantage.
It's it ups your game. Let's just put it that way. So, from me calling, let's just be completely honest about it.
There's like a 50-50 chance we were going to get an Osceola to come in.
All the way from Florida. I mean, this guy is like I love Bo because I've had a chance to hunt with him for a long time now. Even when he was just he was just guiding away. Now he's kind of a little superstar. But he, I think he's the current elk calling champion.
Elk calling two
times.
Yeah, twice now, back to back.
He might be a better turkey caller.
Well, that's what he really got his start in. Turkey calling.
I mean, he is so good at it, and so Tim and I we get our tags and we're ready to go. We get out there first thing, and we're kind of trying to see if we can. We don't have any roosted. Mm-hmm. Okay, so there's none roosted. We're just going to go find a turkey.
Yeah.
And on ground that we've never been to, right? So so there is a chance that nothing's going to happen, but we're okay with that because it's a beautiful morning out, and anytime we can get a chance to go out together is just awesome. And so we get out there, and Bo strikes after a few tries, we finally get a turkey to gobble, and he's a ways away.
Yeah,
but. Bo's like, I think I can get him to come in. And I said, well, let's give it a shot. We put a couple decoys out, and Bo starts yapping away and calling and hitting it. And, Tim and I are Tim's behind me and I'm first up. And, Tim, we're hanging there. And this turkey comes in behind us, gobbling like crazy. And I'm pretty sure he's going to run us over because Bo is set up over here. And so between Bo and the turkey is us.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, this looks pretty good unless he comes up my back.
Yeah.
And he thought about it because he gobbled behind Tim and I one time, and both of us were just, completely still, hanging out there. And he's, and all of a sudden, I'm like, this is great. He's going to come right behind us. But he did circle around. And I think he passed in front of us. What, Tim? Was he?
It was too close.
Was
first,
it 10 yards, 8 yards?
I think it was less than 10.
Wow.
I mean, it was my number was going to be 7. It was close.
And so he came right, and he'd seen the decoy, and he was going to go. We had a tom out over there, and he was going to go beat that tom up, but he was running.
Okay.
And I hear Bo go, shoot him. And I don't know if Bo's filming or what, so I figured, okay, I'm going to follow it. Normally I'd probably, and as he's running across, and boom. And he didn't like that. That was a little close. Tom, he didn't feel good. Okay. And so he did the old flopperoo, and we got a turkey right away. It was fun.
Cool.
Yeah, we had some other chances. We had to cut off a little early because Tim had another meeting, and but we had a great day.
Really,
but it's just so cool to be able. You think about Montana and how this state's just awesome.
Yeah,
it's so beautiful. Just the ability to. We were in. Again, it was 45 minutes or 50 minutes outside Missoula. We were in just incredible country and public land. Yeah, and finding turkeys.
Yeah,
Well,
my crew is really into turkey hunting. They're out turkey hunting right now as we're doing this. Yeah. I'm sure. There's so many rules related to turkey hunting. I don't do it. Like last year, we all went on a group turkey hunt, and they said I couldn't shoot a jake. I'm like, well, what the hell? They eat good too. Well, then one night I go and I watch all these turkeys get up in this tree. I'm like, well, tomorrow morning I'm just going to go shoot a bunch of. I got 2 tags. I'm going to go shoot 2 of them out of the tree.
No.
They're like, you can't do that.
No.
I'm like, in the regulations, it doesn't say I can't. Well, no. So they start telling me all these things. It's not in the regulations. You shouldn't do that. I'm like, this is like golf. You can't kick it. You can't throw it. You got to be quiet.
There are unwritten rules.
There are
in turkey hunting.
So I told them the next time I go turkey hunting, I'm not bringing you guys with. It's me and a camera. I'm going to put some of those jakes to bed that night, and I'm going to walk up there like a partridge in a pear tree. Kaboom, kaboom. Nothing the turkey hunting stuff. They're like, you can't do that. We'll get in trouble. I'm like, with who? It's legal. So I just stick with spring black bear hunting. How with that? Turkey hunt. I'm
going to encourage you, given that, to stay with the spring bear hunting. I think that's a great idea.
Well, I was telling Bo that actually last summer when he was at the TAC event in Big Sky. I'm like, my group, they got so many rules about turkey hunting, I don't even do it. He's like, well, what are you talking about? I said, well, you can't shoot birds out of a tree. And he was just like, what? No, you can't. I guess where he's at in Kentucky, I guess it's actually against the law.
I'm sure it is in some states.
In some states, you can't shoot them out of it. I said, well, in Montana, it's legal. And what? I mean, does the turkey care if I shoot him out of the tree or I shoot him on a stump?
Well, yeah. And, you can't kill an elk with a grenade, but he won't care.
Right, yeah. So, I don't know. Anyhow, that's why my crew, they're really into it. And if Marcus wrote this recipe about how he prepares wild turkey, Colonel Sanders would have never had a chance. Yeah. Chick-fil-A would be getting a hold of Marcus saying, what's this recipe, man? Let's go get some turkeys. Awesome. And I've shot 2 wild turkeys in my life, which demonstrates that in every population, there's at least 2 complete idiots. And one of them I shot while I was deer hunting, and the other one, well, we bumped into each other. But I cooked them, and I'm not a very good cook anyhow, but I wasn't that fond of it. And then Marcus whipped one up.
Yeah, it's about how that's what it's all about.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh. These things would be on the endangered species list if everybody knew how to cook them the way Marcus cooks them.
Yeah.
But, well, I'm glad that you came to Montana and shot one.
Yeah, it was fun. It was
a lot of fun.
I love hunting anything, as you know, but I really have gotten into hunting turkeys. So I enjoy it. We do it in Oregon every year, and we have a blast. So
yeah, have a blast. Stuff. Yeah. And hunting is a blast.
It is.
Literally.
Yeah, all of it.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, it's fun to be here, with RMEF having their 40th birthday. I don't know. What do you call it? Birthday? Anniversary? Celebration?
I think, yeah.
I don't know.
Celebration? I think it's all the above.
Yeah. I was telling them the story about how I became an RMEF member. I was going to college in Reno. There was on Kitsky Lane, there was this sporting goods store called Mark Foreign Strike. And I'm there, and they had this magazine on the counter that had this big bull elk, and it's called Bugle Magazine. And I'm looking, I'm like fascinated. I'd never hunted elk. I'm like, whoa, just the imagery and everything. And the guy across the counter, he's like, yeah, this is a new group that got started a couple of years ago. So I can't remember if it was $10, $15, $20, whatever, but I'm a starving college student, but I'm like, maybe I got to sign up. The magazine will be worth it, even if they just don't do anything with the money. Well, I remember my wife today, Kim, was my girlfriend at the time. And when I'm mailing this off, I'm like, I wonder if I'm just funding some beer party for a bunch of loggers up in Troy, Montana. And a couple weeks later, I get a little card, and then I got a magazine. And so, yeah, I've been an RMEF member for a long time. I've been a volunteer when I moved to Montana in 91. Jumped in and started volunteering on our local committee, and there's a few times where I just was too busy with life and business that I missed a few years on the committee, but got back into it. And I can't think of any conservation group that I'm a part of that has done more for my life, for the outdoor world that I immerse myself in, for me and my family, in the things we love to do, than the Elk Foundation. And so to be here with all of us celebrating that 40th birthday, there's an awful lot of milestones to look at what they've done, almost 9 million acres of conserved.
Yeah.
This is like habitat. This is
it's a real deal.
The core. This is what determines how many elk we have, is the habitat. So, and then 1.3 to 1.4 million acres of new and improved public access. And, to do that in 40 years is pretty remarkable.
It's a big deal.
Yeah. When I was planning on coming over here, I'm like, I'm going to go look at what the elk numbers were in the United States when they started in 1984. Just under 600,000. And the numbers were wobbling, like some up, some down. Now it's over 1.1 million.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
If people, a lot of people want to complain, I didn't draw my elk tag. Well, guess what? If there were only 600,000 elk instead of 1.1 million elk, about half of us wouldn't have drawn our elk tag.
That's right.
And I know that sounds like a smart aleck way to say it, but if we want to keep improving our chances to hunt through getting tags or whatever it is, it's putting more elk on the mountain, more turkeys out in the woods, more sheep on them.
Yeah.
I can't make it any more complicated than that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that, when you look at the work that the Elk Foundation does, I mean, I really am impressed with how strategic they are in terms of how they go about it and think about it, really, because the access that they provide to public land hunters and what they really go and strategically look at, like, if we buy this or if we are able to do this, this is going to open up all of this.
Right.
And so, there's a ton of things they do, but I just love their thinking behind it, because to have an organization that, is as well funded as they are, that means they have the ability to actually make a difference.
Right.
And it's impressive. It really is. It's well run. And so, I think as a sportsman, for me, and this is me as a life member, separate from our company and what we do and how we partner with them. I want to know if I'm giving my money personally to something, or certainly the Leupold and Stevens money that we spend on conservation, that it's going to go to an organization that makes it all come together and does it in a next level way.
Yeah.
And Elk does that. I guarantee you they do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know which of you are tonight. I hear that. Well, I'm the MC tonight, so I was the MC last night. I got a second chance to destroy the RMEF brand tonight. I was standing up there and saying something stupid. But do these come in like cheater readers, Bruce?
What's funny?
These sunglasses? I need some readers in them, because last night they sent me up there and these bright lights are focused at the podium, but they don't point down. Yep. So your pupils are zeroed down to like pinholes, and then they gave me a script in like half-point font or something.
That doesn't work for me either.
No,
That's
even
really
in
tough.
bright light, I would have needed a magnifying glass to read it at my age.
Yeah.
So I had to go off script a little bit last night, and everyone said it went well. So
it was great.
I got one more crack at it, but I'm looking at the script I got to do tonight, and I see you guys are getting a very, very prestigious award from RMEF for the lifetime of support that Leupold has given.
Yeah, from day one.
Foundation.
I'm really proud of that. So, the thoughtfulness of, folks that were at the company prior to us being here, that 40 years ago, it was an organization that the Leupold and Stevens families kind of stepped up and started supporting. So we've been one of the original supporters.
Yeah.
The Leupold brand has been here for 40 years, supporting RMEF. So it makes me really proud.
No, it's such a great relationship, and I know, Tim, you oversee a lot of the people that work on your media side and your marketing side, and I'm sure you guys have to make some decisions about who you're going to support or not going to support, because you can't support every single request that comes in.
Yeah, there's a lot of them, but we filter through to the important stuff, right?
Yeah.
And those that matter, and what's going to help support this. The missions line up really well with, we're a family-run company, and it makes the day-to-day decision making pretty easy when you have a clear mission of how are we protecting this for the future? How are we making this something that generations from now, they're going to look back the same way we're looking and saying, man, I'm glad they had the foresight to do this stuff, right? Yeah. So it's a big responsibility, but it makes a partnership like this pretty easy. Yeah. And so you prioritize that and you make it happen.
Yeah. Well, that's the good part about, having maybe a birthday as a time, maybe as humans, we're like, I don't know if I need to celebrate any more birthdays. I need to quit keeping track of stuff. But, I think for organizations, it's good to sit down and say, hey, how far did we come?
Yeah.
And, Charlie Decker, one of the founders, I've known Charlie for a long time. And he used to be on our Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks Committee.
Oh, yeah.
And he and I would butt heads.
Really?
And so then he'd see me at RMEF events. And if you know Charlie, he'll just walk up to, hey, you, blah, blah, blah. The next time you call me out on a commission like that, I'm like, Charlie, you remind me of my dad. But he always had a soft spot for me because Charlie's a logger and I came from a logging family. And so even I'd say 80% of the time we agreed on things. But for the 20% that didn't, he would always give me the hard ride. And then we served on some committees together, not RMEF committees, but in the role of wildlife committees for Montana. And so my relationship with Charlie has been just such a wonderful relationship. And I think everybody who's a member of the Elk Foundation who gets to know Charlie or Bob, one of the other co-founders, they just, it brings this almost family feeling to it. Like, these are real people. And I had Charlie and Bob on this podcast in 2015 or 16. And I asked them, what gave you guys the idea that you could do this? And they're like, well, we were too stupid to think we'd ever fail.
That's right.
and Charlie said, look, I'm a logger. And if that road needs put in so we can cut that timber, I got to do it. If not me, no one's going to do it. So he said, I got to looking at this and said, if not me, who?
Yeah.
And I think
that's incredible.
Yeah. Bob, and then Bob's brother, and then Dan Bull. I forget Bob's brother's name. But anyhow, the four of them, you said, you know what? No one else is going to do it. I guess we got to do it.
Yeah.
And you think about in the conservation world, the real big things that have happened in the history of conservation in the United States were because people just said, you know what? I'm going to do this. I want a better tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe today we just say, well, I'm not going to take the initiative. I'll just go complain on Facebook or something. I don't know. Maybe if Facebook would have been around back then, we wouldn't have an Elk Foundation. Because they would have said, well, I'll just go complain on Facebook. But I don't think they would have. But anyhow, it's remarkable. And, I sat on the board of this group for 6 years. And seeing the industry support that RMEF gets is impressive. They get support from so many places, industry, some generous donors. The number of RMEF members that once they get in the fold, they step up from the $35 membership to the $100 Sportsman's member to the sponsor membership. And it's usually not that long, and they're life members. And, you look at all the other critter groups, and it's tough out there to be a conservation group.
I think so.
It really is. And so when I talk about RMEF, it's not at a discount of any of the other groups. I love them all, and I want to see them all succeed. As some of the other groups have said, well, turkeys don't bugle. Mule deer don't bugle. If we could get them to bugle, we'd have more members.
Yeah.
But it is a whole lot of things that come together. A majestic animal on these amazing landscapes provides us all this great food, and 225 to 240,000 elk hunters support them. And in the United States, we only sell, I think, like 1 million elk tags a year.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good, and some of those are probably some guys who have 2 elk tags, maybe.
Yep.
So the number of true elk hunters out there, to have over 200,000 of them in their membership rolls, that's a pretty heavy market penetration.
Yeah, I mean, I was impressed last night. What UMC'd, Tim and I were there, and that was really for the volunteers, right? And all the people who volunteer. And as I was watching the program and kind of, I was so impressed by the states that don't have any elk.
Yeah.
There's not an elk in the state.
Right.
And the support and the amount of money and the volunteers and all they're able to do is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I understand what other organizations say about, well, they don't bugle. I don't know. I think that the reality is you have an organization with RMEF that has just done a next level job.
Yeah.
Of not only saying we're going to put more elk, out there, and we're going to create more access for elk hunters, but to me, when I look at it as a hunter, it's above and beyond that. This is an organization that says we're going to be a leader in conservation,
right?
And because I know there's projects that they've worked on that honestly, does a lot more for other species than it does for elk.
Yeah.
Because they know it's right, and they know this is what's going to happen, and it may help pronghorn more, and it may help, whatever it is, but that's a reality of what they do. And I think I was impressed by that. I'm looking at, what do you mean you raise that much money in
Florida and Alabama
Texas,
and Vermont?
Yeah, you think about all the states.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it's
impressive.
It is very impressive. And the one thing people have asked me, what do I think the secret sauce was for the Elk Foundation? And I think it's because when they said they were going to do something, they did it. They've kept their word. And last summer they had a big thing in Bozeman where they brought in a lot of influential people who were policymakers or others, and they just wanted the story told about what the Elk Foundation does, kind of under the radar. They kind of like Leupold. This is why you guys are such good teammates, Elk Foundation and Leupold. You guys don't tell your own story well enough, and that's just me, okay? You guys take that for what it's worth. But the Elk Foundation doesn't go and put a big placard everywhere. We did this, we did this, we did this. And I think there's some value in groups doing that, for awareness of letting people know where their money's going. Well, anyhow, they're like, Randy, you gotta be a storyteller. And so I sat there and I went through all the things I've been involved in with the Elk Foundation. And one that really stood out is one of my CPA clients was doing a deal with the Elk Foundation. They were selling 6,000 acres. And I said, well, they were going to sell it. And then I said, if you guys will do this with the Elk Foundation, I'll consult with you, but I won't charge you anything if you do it with them. So I got to sit on the other side of the table that time. And I got a call from that board of directors of that group, and they were going to quit because all the other groups are like, well, we got to do this and we got to do that. And it's like, well, wait a second, we don't have to do anything. And so you get 20 groups in there all thinking that they're the negotiator in the deal. And the group already had a little bit of distrust of trying to do a transaction that involved the federal government and Land and Water Conservation Fund, because the Elk Foundation goes and buys it. And then when it gets turned over to the public, the Elk Foundation gets reimbursed for some, maybe all, but some of the money. Sure. And it instantly goes to the Forest Service in this case. So I still remember they called me and they said, Randy, we're done. We're out of here. We're not doing this deal. We're selling it to a private group. I'm like, oh, man. And so we talked for a while, and they're like, it's not worth it. The only guy that really does what he says he's going to do and doesn't get out in the weeds and is confidential is this guy named Ron Marcoux from the Elk Foundation. I'm like, oh, I know. Ron's like the ace. So they kind of came back around and said, look, you call all those groups and you tell them we're only working with Ron Marcoux at the Elk Foundation. That's it. So I called all these other groups and said, sorry, you're not in on any future meetings. And whatever the deal is with the Elk Foundation, that's what we're going to get. And so that impressed me so much to see a group that had the support from top to bottom where they could send a guy like Ron Marcoux, a super talented guy, to come forward and close an extremely complicated deal. And I told that story at that event in Bozeman last summer, and I just said, the reason that the Elk Foundation is successful is they're not the group that's up there elbowing to see who gets to be at the podium to claim credit for it.
Right.
They're the group who says, we're going to get it done.
That's right.
And as quick as we get it done, we got 12 other projects just as important that we got to be working on. And when that's it. Everything that Ron said they would do, they did. They didn't waver. They didn't come back and say, well, we thought about it. And so they had a big event celebrating the transaction and everything. And I remember standing in the back of the event with some people, and here's the normal groups up there jostling for who gets the microphone. I'm like, whatever. Yeah. And so that's how they've been so successful. I think whether it's business, whether it's the nonprofit world, there's a lot of things that translate about when you say who you are and you say this is your mission, you stick to it. Like in your case, you guys say you're relentless. Yeah. And that defines you.
That's right.
The Elk Foundation is the same way. They if we say we're doing it, we're doing it.
Yeah, I think that's why we probably don't do as good a job of, around around conservation of telling our story, I guess, because it's just one of our core values.
Yeah.
It's called thoughtful stewardship.
Yeah.
And that's a value for our company. It's a value for family ownership of our company. And it's our own personal values that we have. And so for us, it's just, I had someone the other day say to me, I see you support all these different organizations in conservation. I said, yeah, of course. That's just part of who we are and what we do. It's rare that we say no, if it makes sense. And if somebody has got the right mindset, because whether it's, putting more sheep on the mountain or elk or mule deer or whatever, that's something that we believe in. So you always coach me on that, and I'm going to continue to try and be better about that. I appreciate it.
Which one of you guys are coming up tonight? Because I don't want to embarrass you and rat you out, but you're not going to be able to hide tonight.
That sounds like a job for the CEO.
Tim, So we got the guy in charge of marketing and new product, and he's like, no, I think I'll be busy tonight. I'm sending the CEO up there. All right. Whichever of you show up, it's very meaningful. RMEF, in my lifetime of being involved, I think only 3, 4, maybe at the most 4 or 5 companies have received the award that you guys are getting tonight.
Yeah. And we're happy to be here, and we're happy to continue to support elk, and we'll be supporting the Elk Foundation for another 40 years. So that's what my hope is. So.
Yeah, that's cool. But in 40 years, Bruce, you and I won't probably be elk hunting. Just, a young guy like Tim probably.
They will be pushing us around out there. he's gave us that as commitment. Hey, I got you guys. And Tim's is a big, strong guy, so he can take one wheelchair in this and one in the other. You and I'll have our own little set up there.
If you can imagine this, me and Tim and Tyler Jonerson are in New Mexico. Who do you think is going to be sucking air and dragging ass when we're climbing up those mountains? Not Tim and not Tyler.
Yeah, no, I can imagine.
So
this is another one of those areas where people don't give themselves enough credit. I was last on the way out of that mountain, by the way. Randy was doing just fine.
No, the reason that Tim might have been last, he was worried I might fall down the trail and hurt myself, and he wanted to not leave me behind or something.
Yeah, right, Randy. Randy, look, it doesn't matter if Randy's in better shape than you. Randy's got the old thing up here. He's got the mental toughness piece of it too. You might be hurting, but he's going to keep pushing. So,
well, that comes from being below average at everything.
Right? I know. I get it, man.
You go out for sports. You're the slowest guy. You're the most uncoordinated guy. You ask a girl to prom. You're the ugliest guy. I'm just nothing ever came easy. So I just don't give up. It's not talent at all. So, but. Anyhow, this is all fun, and I'm so glad that we get together and talk about these things occasionally. But, you guys sent me something in the mail the other day, and it's a new rangefinder. I'm like, all right, you guys are going to make this so easy that even an accountant can do it?
Yeah, that was the goal. How did it go?
Well, this one came to my house, so the crew didn't take it. I'm still working through it because I'm trying to make sure that when I set up, because your app so the Rangefinder talks to my phone.
Leupold control app.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Is that what you guys call it?
Control. Yeah. It's just a controller for your
downloadable right now.
Yeah. I just call it the app.
At the App Store.
Yeah. So I'm doing all that. And so tell me how it works, Tim. Tell the audience what the new 5000 Rangefinder.
Sure. Yeah. What we're trying to do every day is solve real problems or equip people to be even better out in the field every day, right? And so we go in and we look at what are some of the challenges that we face. We're out all the time, hunting, and what are some things that I would like to solve that haven't been solved. And I think this product does that really well.
Yeah.
Especially for hunters, public land hunters, right? So if we're gonna talk about just that as one application, getting high, glassing. I've been taking notes, right? How do we do this, Randy? If I need to go look for elk in Montana, how do I do that? And you get up high and you walk with your eyes, right? Yeah. Well, then you find something And so we'll just pick whether it's a morning or an evening, can vary even depending the use case there. But I can see elk out there at 2 miles. What land are they on? Where are they? Is it part of my unit? All of those things. And how do I answer that? Well, the way I've answered that in the past is I'm kind of guessing and I'm pointing my phone over there.
A little bit of dead reckoning.
And so, wouldn't it be nice if I could just range those and it would tell me exactly where they're standing?
Yeah.
And that is the problem that we've solved here. And we've done it with a kind of a new set of sensors and other things that are out there that come from autonomous cars that need to know exactly where they are. Because you can't mess up and be in the wrong lane.
Can drive themselves.
Correct. And drones that know exactly where they're... So...
I feel like George. Remember the cartoon George Jetsons when we were kids? I feel like this is the Jetsons.
Elroy.
It's incredible, right?
His son Elroy. Yeah.
So if your phone knows where you are and you've got a rangefinder and it knows where it's pointed, it should be able to tell you how far away it is, so it knows exactly where the end of that beam is. So for you and I, what we're seeing is, there's some elk. I'm going to range them.
Right.
This will send a pin directly to your map. So in my case, Onyx. It'll send it right to my Onyx. I know who owns the land. Is it public? Is it private? How far away is it? I can see the terrain. I can see the cover. So in the morning, now I can plan a stock. I can get over there. I can put something to bed. And I know exactly where it is. Right. And I can plan my stock. In an evening, if it's 2 miles away, I'm probably not getting there in time. But now I know I've got a pin on my map where I can come in
the morning,
the right way, downwind, all the right things, and be in the right spot. Think about an archery application, for example. I'd love to say I've never sat up on the wrong tree waiting for something to stand up, and then it stands up 200 yards to my left, and right. And so this is really it's in the rangefinder category, but this is more of like a wayfinding tool, a navigational tool. And so we've done a bunch of things there to make sure that it works well that way. It has to be exact. So when you drop that pin, that has to be where it is, not in that general area. So it is incredibly accurate. And then the other piece is the optics. So it can't just be this thing that puts a pin out there. You need to be able to see well enough through it that you know exactly what you're dropping the pin on. So we redesigned everything from the ground up. The optics, the range-finding engine, the sensors, the app. The app is just there to help you control it. And all of that needs to be exactly perfect so that you don't have to worry about whether it's going to work. Right? It just needs to work. This is what it's supposed to do. I don't care how you did it. Doesn't matter to me. Does it work?
Exactly.
So that was goal number one. It just has to work.
Yeah.
It works really well.
The simplicity of it is really what Tim and his team, I think, have done brilliantly on it, because I know you're a lot like I am. I don't need to know all the technology behind it. Sorry. I mean, this guy will go on for a month about it and he loves it, and that's why he's so good at what he does. But I just want to know, last year I was hunting with my son in Utah, and I had a mule deer hunt, and we were right on the Utah-Wyoming border, and had a mule deer bedded down, and I couldn't figure out I knew he was close to the border, but I was too nervous to, I didn't want to make a mistake, and I didn't. So we had to sit on him a long time. Now, luckily, he ended up walking down. I would have known if I had this.
You'd have known.
I'd have known. Yeah, no, he's actually he's in Utah.
Yeah.
He's on the right side of the property, because I didn't think Wyoming would like that.
Yeah. No, they're probably not going to.
And I didn't have a dual state tag.
I've never seen one of those.
No, I couldn't get that done. Yeah. So it was really cool to think about this, and I knew we were working on it at the time, and so I was just sitting there thinking, man, I would really like to have where it dropped that, because I could range him and drop that thing and know exactly where he is.
Yeah.
Pretty neat.
I wish I would have had that in Arizona last year, because Matthew and I had tags right around one of the reservations in Arizona, and everyone's like, don't hunt there. Once those bulls get on the reservation, they never leave.
That's it. Yeah.
I'm like, I don't believe that. I got a week. I'm going to prove it to myself that, you get on these finger ridges that run into the reservation, and there's like 10 finger ridges, or 12. You don't know if there's 8 or 10 of them, and you see that bull over there at 2,800 yards, and you're like, where? Which you're looking
which
at
one
your
is
map?
it?
Which ridge is this? Which is he well, there's 3 fence lines, which would, and so
All of that,
the amount of, all of us are standing there with our phones, trying, angling the compass, and we never could figure out we'd always pop out on the wrong ridge.
Right.
And we'd think, oh, we got it. And then we'd look over there and, oh, they're over there another ridge away or 2 ridges away. It's like, oh. So, yeah, I could see it as a wayfinding tool.
Yeah.
In a really cool sense.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about the hunt that we went on in New Mexico.
Oh,
and
yeah.
But wouldn't it have been nice if we'd have been able to put a
Pin
idea
right
where that
there.
elk was? Because I felt like we walked all the way into actually Mexico.
Yeah, we
By the time we did the new.
we took the scenic route. Let's put it that way.
Oh, let's go. We can get there in no time. Oh, sun's coming down. We better do something.
No, that would have been a perfect scenario.
Right?
Across a canyon, you drop down into that canyon.
Never looks the same.
And there's 12 little fingers coming up out of that canyon, and you're like, well, is this the one? No, I don't know. This one? I don't know.
And what we ended up doing, and it's another great example. I didn't even think about it until just now, but because we didn't know which draw essentially that he was in, we ended up covering. Oh, remember, we didn't go down and back up each draw. We had to go over and over and over, which was taxing, to say the least.
Yeah, it was more than taxing. But yeah, I could see.
Yep.
So when you come, and this is the other fun part about talking to you, Tim, when we're hunting or whether I'm out in Oregon, is you and your team of mad scientists. That's what, if I can use that term. I say that with full
100%,
endearment.
yeah.
They all hunt, they all shoot. So it's not like you are just plopping this down with some engineer who his pastime, thing that he does is golf or video games.
No, and it's actually a kind of a point of contention in some instances, because all of us, I think, are problem solvers. So we'll try to walk into the engineering team with a solution, and that's actually with the talent that we have on our team. That's what you want to do is say, well, here's the problem that I'm trying to solve, because they understand the use case. They're out, they're doing this stuff, right? And so I don't need to explain that when you drop into the bottom of that canyon, you can't see the bottoms of those, so you don't know which one to start on to go back up, right? So you can go through and say, here's a problem that we're trying to solve, and they come back with numerous different solutions, and then here's the pros and cons of this one, and we all get together. And I can tell you the benefits of having the entire team understand what it's like to be out there with numb fingers in the cold, with fog rolling in and out and snow falling, and now I can't see 100 yards, but I used to be able to see 3 miles. They understand all that, and you get one crack at this, right? You get that tag, you get whatever it is. It has to be easy, and it has to work the first time, every time. I say that because every hunt's a new hunt, every outing's a new outing, and it has to work right now when you need it perfectly.
Yeah.
And they get that. And so there's some, I try to talk about where the tech comes from. They understand that stuff, right?
Yeah.
I listen and I'm just amazed every single day at the level of detail that they'll go into just to make sure it's seamless.
Yeah.
It sounds easy. Hey, just tell me it's over there. Well, but there's these issues with temperature, and they dive way down deep to make sure that it's just going to be simple enough for us. Show it to me in crayons. Perfect.
Yeah.
That works great.
Well,
and
one of them must watch me, like, when I've had too much coffee, because I got, like, the heebie-jeebie shakes. And I can put an Arca plate on there.
Yes.
And put it on my tripod. So, because...
I don't remote fire it from your phone, so you don't even have to touch it.
Yeah. And so I don't care who you are. If you have tried to range enough things with a handheld rangefinder, you are going to have those days where you're huffing and puffing, or you're dehydrated and you're shaking a little bit, or whatever, where you're going to struggle hitting consistently and making sure you got the reading you wanted at something that was 1,200 yards away.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm just the only guy who has that problem.
No.
We all do. Nope.
So it'll be really handy to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Line it up. And then, like you said, run it from your app and not.
And we try to go through and think of things, right? So one of the questions we get is, well, now every time I range something, am I going to have a little Leupold logo all over my map? No. So it's when do you want it to go over there? And so, so you can choose pin next. So the next time I range, I want you to drop a pin for me.
Yep.
Well, the very first thing I do is get excited on a hunt. I'm not going to pull my phone out and say, okay, I'm ready to range this. So it remembers the last one. You say, oh, I need to know where that was. There's simple pieces in that user interface that are just scenario based that you need to think about. So it's not going to clutter your mapping app at all. But when you need that and you forgot to think about it ahead of time, you can go back and get it done. And so they're just trying to figure out all those things because at least for me, when the hunt is on, that's the only thing my brain's focused on.
Right. Yeah,
I did try to talk Tim into any time you opened the app that it actually took over all of your pictures with Leupold logos. And he said, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't feel right about it. And I said, well, that's too bad because that sounds like a great idea to just completely. Once you use the app once, the Leupold logo is on everything. The backdrop of your wedding picture will have a Leupold logo in the back.
Oh, well, who's the marketing person here? You or him?
There's a rigorous screening process.
People probably think you're serious about that.
I know that I'm not serious, but kind of.
It'll be interesting to see the use cases, because everybody has something new that they can use that for in everyday life.
Yeah,
so it's great.
I was talking it over with my crew, and I'm not the kind of guy who really gets into shed hunting. But I guess when you're shed hunting, a lot of times you end up with these situations where you see, I guess you glass for them. I don't know.
Yeah, similar to looking for an elk, but you're looking for just a horn that's not going to stand up when you get close.
Right. And so they're like, oh man, if I had that and I glassed that antler over there, 1,800 yards.
No, how great is that?
Yeah. I'm not going to have to walk in circles for an hour or two trying to narrow it down to where I'm at.
That's a big deal.
And
I know you like to go fishing a lot, and so we just hear things. You may be able to steal someone's fishing hole from a long ways away. Why are they catching fish right there?
Look at that guy; he's catching fish.
Yeah, I know where that is. Boop.
Yeah. So in North Dakota, they call binoculars a Montana fish finder. And in Montana, they call binoculars a North Dakota fish finder.
That's funny.
So it's a new. Maybe you guys are in the Columbia country. There, you call it a Washington. You guys live in Oregon. You call it a Washington fish finder.
The salmon guys will have fun with this. That's the boat catching everything
out on the ocean.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now I know where the halibut are.
Oh man, you guys might have created a monster with that possibility. But does this come from a military application? Are they using stuff similar to that?
They are using stuff that's similar, and so generally, what we're trying to do is look at a specific use case. And so for hunters, we're going to look at a certain use case, and sometimes that can be difficult because you look at something like this that's the scope and the capability can get broader and broader, broader, right? And it applies to rifle scopes and other things,
right?
And pretty soon, if you're trying to make a one size fits all, it's a one size fits none, right? Yeah. And so we really focused on hunters.
Yeah. That's true with this.
So now you can use it this way and this way and this way and this way. And you and I, when it's in the heat of the moment, the CDS dials work for a reason. Right. What is the distance? I turn it to that, and it's fail proof.
Yeah.
So we focused on making this a hunting tool. People can use it in other ways. And it does come from that type of technology, but we're really trying to solve problems for hunters on this, and we focused on that heavily, but the accuracy has gained a lot of interest from other areas for sure. And, we're talking about dropping it on OnX. It'll drop to your Apple Maps, Google Maps, other things, because it really is sending a latitude, longitude, right? So there's a lot of flexibility there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Well,
what you could do is you could set it on the Dairy Queen when you go by. Boom. It'll work for that, right to your map.
Yeah.
You can find your way back.
I think all I'd have to do is look at my routes. And then
there's already a breadcrumb trail.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Hansel and Gretel out there. I'm a pretty easy person to find in the summertime. But what else you guys got cooking? You got new gear?
Yeah, Tim, I think talk a little bit about the Mark IV would be pretty cool because we've had such a good launch. I mentioned that earlier, but Tim does a much better job of kind of explaining.
In full disclosure, you guys sent us 4 of your new Mark IVs. Our crew built their own rifles this winter. They got these Howa barreled actions from Brownells, and then they put everything together.
Really? That's cool.
And they went and shot in Idaho at the NRL Hunter Series.
Did they?
Yeah.
Awesome. I didn't know that.
They put together their own loads. They worked everything up because it started over the last couple of years. They kept talking about it. They're like, you know what? As hard as we work to finally get a situation, the last thing we want to do is miss, or even worse yet, make a bad hit.
Right.
And so I said, all right, I'm on board with you guys doing this, but we're not about doing this for long range. We're about doing this to improve our shooting skill.
Right. Yeah.
For learning. Because when I went out to your shooting clinic last summer, when I came back, those guys must have thought I had seen, Moses coming off the mountain with the 10 Commandments or something. Because instantly I'm like, we're doing this and we're doing that and we're doing this. And they're like, oh, wow, what's the deal? I'm like, no, here's all the things, just little things that we could do to improve stuff. So I don't know if that's what started them on it. Anyhow, they got lined up with 4-year Mark IVs, and they're so excited about having them. They're
awesome.
Yeah.
It's a great product, and those NRL Hunter matches are it's a great way to ring out your gear. We're fortunate we have that shooting school, and so we can go over to that terrain each year and kind of ring out the knock the rust off a little bit if you need to, and ring your gear out. But that's a big piece of it. And so we've taken a lot of the learnings from what we do out there, and we've got it set up as a hunting course. There's long range shooting out there in the Mark IV and the Mark V series, which Mark V was kind of the predecessor here, and it's still in our line and it does very, very well. But the Mark IV is a new version of this, right? Yeah. And so we've got that set up where it's got every piece of technology or capability is a better word. Every piece of capability that a long range shooter will need, and then nothing that you don't. So hey, what do I absolutely have to be the best? But I don't want anything else that's in the way there.
Right.
And those are really focused on shooters. Doesn't mean you can't hunt with it, but that's one of the big questions we get is, okay, so VX5 or Mark IV, what's the difference? What do I want to do with these?
Yeah.
And so much like we talked about, on the RX 5000, we want to pick a use case and go after the best solution and the best set of features and benefits that you can for that.
Yeah.
So on VX5s, VX6s, we're very, very focused on lightweight, right? Simple to use, streamlined, easy to use on packs, enough magnification for what you're trying to do, the right reticle, whether it's first focal plane or second focal plane, and then enough adjustment travel for typical hunting shots.
Yeah.
The Mark IV leans more into the shooting side. People hunt with it all the time, but we add some other things. So just at a philosophical level, we try to keep things streamlined and ultra lightweight. We do that across the board, but hunters don't necessarily need to be shooting out to a mile, 2 miles for practice, right? There's you don't have that need, but you might be carrying a larger main tube than you need, a dial that has multiple, more revolutions than you're going to use in a hunting situation. And so the Mark IV is really focused on a shooting application. People hunt with them all the time, but you get an extra turn of travel in there.
On your turret.
On your turret. So you'll get 3 full turns. You've used the VX5s and 6s where you get a couple turns.
Right.
These you'll get 3 full turns. They are first focal plane reticles, which allow all of your markings to be accurate on every power. Right. And then you're getting larger main tubes, so you can make use of all that travel.
Yeah.
And so the Mark IVs for these NRL hunter type or PRS precision rifle series, absolutely perfect for that.
Yeah.
But we are seeing Western hunters use the heck out of these things because a lot of those features work really well. And if I'm going to go train to a mile, I don't necessarily want to switch my gear when I go over, right?
Yeah.
And so while a first focal plane may not be ideal for someone hunting in tight cover in low light, in a Western big game state, it may be fine because maybe perfect actually, because you're not going to have a shot that's under 100 yards. You're not going to have to take a snapshot with the reticle being, reduced in size because you're on low power.
Yeah.
So we really focused on the shooter there to make sure that we had the ideal feature set there. And ironically, there's enough crossover now that we're seeing a lot of sales to hunters because they're still the lightest, the most rugged, all those things. But with the feature set for really reaching out there. So if you want to practice at 1,000, 1,200, 1,500, a mile, well, you feel pretty confident when there's a deer standing at 250.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's a layup at that point if you've been practicing that far.
Yeah, both of them have incredible optics. So you're not either one you choose. They're going to work incredibly well in low light.
Yeah.
They're going to give you everything that you expect from a Leupold scope. So you really can. You're going to be successful with either one. It's just a matter of feature sets and really what you want. I was surprised. We launched it. Tim and I were down at Dallas Safari Club at that show, that convention down there, which is a consumer show. A lot of people and a lot of. I think it's a little bit, kind of a little bit older crowd and probably more, obviously tends to be more hunters that would attend that. And when we launched that scope and the amount of people who came in and asking about the Mark IV, it shocked me.
Yeah.
It was just they were on it. So that conversion that we see, and we get the question a lot, and Tim does a great job of explaining it, that, which should I use?
Right.
It's really up to what you want feature set wise. I'm a VX6, VX5 guy, and that's kind of where I'm going to be, regardless of what I do, because I love the way that works for me as a hunter, and so I'm a hunter first and a shooter second.
Yeah.
But I want to be really good at shooting because it's really important to me finish the job.
Yeah.
To your point.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I guess the fact that you're selling as many of them as you are, and you got a year's worth of orders in the first 2 weeks that you rolled it out. I don't want to tell you what to do here, but there is this concept about pricing and value that maybe you underpriced that one.
It's in the right spot. I mean, I think that what we want to always do is when you pay for a Leupold scope or any Leupold product for that matter, I want you to be blown away by what you get from a quality perspective. Yeah. I really do. And so, we have those conversations all the time, but it fits a really nice spot that's going to allow a lot of folks. It's not an inexpensive scope, but it's going to allow a lot of folks to go out and test their limits of what they can do on steel, when they're out there. So it's going to be pretty cool.
Well, value is always the intersection of price and performance.
Exactly.
And if you are selling that many of them, the value proposition must be there in the eyes of people who are,
I hope so,
are looking for it.
Yeah, I hope so.
It is. And, one of the things that we don't necessarily talk about, but I do get that question is, well, what do you change as you go up or down in the line, if you want to call it that? And we have there's a performance baseline period that they have to meet. And, you've come through and seen some of the work that we do with military and others. All of that testing goes into our hunting product.
Yep.
And all of the low light performance that you need for a hunter with, the sun setting behind a very harsh lighting and glare management, that goes over to the shooting side. There, it really is feature sets because they all have to perform. They all have to. It doesn't matter, which level of the line you're on, the recoil, the drop testing, the freezing, the salt fog, all the military level testing and all the hunting level testing all comes together on every single product that we make.
Yeah.
So if it's a VX Freedom or a Mark V, they still pass all those same tests.
Yeah. That's cool. It's none of this. Well, that one's a little less expensive. We'll lower our standards on that one.
No.
Not at your joint.
Not going to happen.
Yeah. What else you got? Anything else coming out? It hasn't been mailed to me. If either that or the crew got it.
They may have taken.
Yeah. They're running around with Leupold gear on the T-shirts and hats and sunglasses.
I mean, we're having a lot of success in what we call pro gear,
Really?
And I think our product team does a really good job of, they're really not allowed to bring anything into the line that doesn't have performance. If you don't have a level of expected performance and quality, our guys they just came up with a new gun cases for us. And I don't know if you guys have seen those yet, but we're going to send you one if you haven't.
I haven't seen them.
They're pretty cool.
Really?
And they're ready to go right into a hard case if you got to fly with something, but better than, and you can pop it right out, but it's just well thought out, really well organized. It's got a lot of feature sets to it, and it's kind of molded in the bottom, so it's got enough girth to it that if you throw it in the back of your back seat and it bounces around, it's going to keep everything sturdy and safe. And we had the same reaction when we, offered that to our dealers. It was immediately our first run of those got sold out immediately, which was really cool. So they'll be out there retail available. But I'm just really pleased because, if we, we want to make sure that whatever we do, whether it's a piece of our apparel that your guys are wearing or whatever it is, that it has the characteristics that kind of are an antithesis of the brand that really kind of, present it in the right way.
Well, I would say there's very few hunters out there that will use as many tripods as we do for filming, for glassing, for digiscoping. Every one of us are carrying 1 to 2 tripods when we leave the truck.
Yeah.
We have converted over to your tripods, and we've converted so many other people who come with us or other people in the filming business be like, what is that thing?
They're really good.
Yeah. And in fact, you'll see we're filming here. We got this old junky one right here because the crew who is out bear hunting, all your tripods are out in the field. What's left in the office?
Yeah.
This old pile. Well, I mean, it worked, but you know, it didn't work well. So, no, we have converted ourselves for every application from your smallest to your largest, and the number of people who are looking at them like, I gotta check that out, and then they'll text you. Oh man, look at what I got. And,
lightweight.
Yeah,
yeah. It does it all.
For the hunting application, they're fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same way. It's a part of my kit now. Yeah. And it didn't used to be. You know, I was a kind of shoot off a pack guy and, you know, that kind of stuff. But now there's just so many uses for it when, you know, in terms of, you know, glassing and how much easier that makes. Obviously, from a spotting scope standpoint, it's necessary. But it's the fact that they're so lightweight and so flexible in terms of what they can be used for and the different attachments that our team has come up with to put on them. It's really good.
Yeah. I mean, we put some pretty heavy cameras on them at times. Yeah. Because for us, you know, the wind's blowing. The last thing you want to do is make the audience seasick by having a sloppy tripod with low tolerances and the camera's wobbling and shaking. And we have software that can fix that, but it doesn't fix it very well. But we just, you know, with our cameras, we just have switched over everything because we're also packing in pretty long distances, and weight is a consideration.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if most guys went and grabbed Marcus's or Jace's pack of what they carry every day, most guys would be like, I ain't doing that.
Yeah, that's not the job for me.
Yeah, that's on the way in.
Yeah, that's exactly, Tim. That's on the way in. But so where they can cut weight and improve performance, like with your tripods, it's been a big help for us.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thanks for getting them out there. We appreciate it.
Yeah. What else we got that we haven't covered since the last time you guys joined us here on the Leupold Hunt Talk Radio podcast?
Yeah. I don't know, Tim. Is there anything we're missing? I think we just keep working hard every day. I'm real proud of our team, and we've got about 85 engineers that are working every day on trying to make better product and make it at the highest level of optical performance. And so we appreciate everyone supporting our brand. We really do. We have such loyal customers out there that you know, we continue to want to be better every day. We haven't got to where we want to be totally, but we're relentless about the process of doing it. And we, you know, it's like the old Vince Lombardi quote. We realize that we're never going to be perfect, but that pursuit of perfection is what's going to actually make us great. Yeah. And we try to live that. So
yeah. Well, you do a really good job of it, and I'm one of the lucky beneficiaries that gets to use your product. And, you know, I tell the story, I think I might have told you guys a time or two of, you know, the first time I bought a Leupold scope, how many lawns I mowed as a teenager to buy a Leupold scope. Because Owen Gordon in our town was, you know, back in the day, most everybody, older person you knew was a World War II vet. And he was a captain in the Army. And he owned the hardware store in town. And if you had anything that you really needed figured out with a firearm, you went to Owen Gordon. He'd figure it out for you. But he had these Leupold scopes. That's the only thing he shot. And I remember as a kid, like, man, someday when I grow up, when I got it made, I'm going to be like Owen Gordon. Yeah. Well, I mowed lawns that whole summer. And I remember going into the store, and I'm like, Mr. Gordon, I'd really like one of those scopes like you have. And that was back in the day where he opened something up, like 400 pages of, you know, a catalog. And he got on the phone and he called a rep or a distributor somewhere. And, it'll be on the truck on Thursday, or, you know. And he mounted it for me and everything. That's
great.
And so I just feel really lucky that I've been able to use your products for however long I've been using them.
Yeah, well, we're really, really just blessed to have you on our team. Seriously, I mean that, and I think that what I love, Randy, is not only kind of what you do as a hunter and all the accomplishments, and I appreciate that about you, but even more than that is really the fact that what you do for conservation. I think you're gonna go down, in my opinion, as one of those people from a modern perspective that has made a big difference. And
absolutely,
I really think you're one of those
saying that.
modern wilderness warrior. Is what I would call it. So I really appreciate that.
When I think about my life, there is nothing that defines me more than hunting. There's nothing that has defined my family, my relationships, my world more than hunting. And if hunting does not continue in that next generation and even people not yet born, if they don't have the opportunities I've had, I didn't do enough.
Yeah.
And so many people have either people who came way before me that were gone by the time I was around, they put in place these institutions that allowed for me to be a hunter. And then the people who taught hunter ed, the people who made hard decisions. And I feel that, to me, that's a sense of obligation. And I think that's how most of us feel in the hunting space. Yeah. And so I'm blessed to, get to do this in my adult life, I also, if I had bad judgment in a lot of my younger days, the one marrying Kim Newberg was like I have no idea how I convinced that woman to marry me, but when we started these platforms in 2008, she said, "Look, I'm on board." When I showed her the budget of what it was going to cost to start, but you got to make me a promise that this will never be our livelihood. I'm like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. She's like, no, listen to me. This is not going to be our livelihood. You're going to continue to be a CPA, because if this is your livelihood, I know how you operate. You will stress and fret about everything being perfect, and it won't be fun for you, and you will grow to hate hunting, and nobody could live with you. If
that's wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm so dumb at the time. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. I got to get this thing rolling. And so now I look back at how continuing to work in the CPA business until 2020 allowed me to just do it that was meaningful, that is fun, and is the reason I set out to do it. And if you come into our office, we're what big whiteboard people at our office, and on every whiteboard is the why, and it's to create impactful media that inspires others to advocate for wild places, wild things, and access to such.
That's amazing.
That's as simple or as complicated as I'm going to make it. There's nothing in there about, well, I need, and this is the benefit of being the owner, and you can say, well, I don't need this amount of profit or this amount of whatever. And so that's put me in a lucky position. And I don't know any other country in the world where some snotty-nosed punk from Big Falls, Minnesota, living in a trailer house could have this as his adult life. I mean, only in America. Yeah. And I don't take that for granted one day. Yeah. There's not a single day where I get up and I see everybody else frantically driving to work and probably just burdened with so much that, their job, their daily life is a job. And I get the blessing to get up and just do what excites me and is important and meaningful to me. And I feel lucky.
Yeah, well, it comes through. It comes through every day. That's why everyone loves you. Well, because you're authentic.
Well, I appreciate that, but it's companies like you guys and you guys as friends as much as our business relationship. You guys are just such great friends. I can pick up the phone and call you, and that means a lot also. And this podcast started in 2015. Leupold's Hunt Talk Radio is one of the oldest podcasts in the hunting space. July 1st of 2025 will be the 10-year anniversary of Leupold's on Talk Radio. Yeah. So Bruce and Tim are going to be the guests.
We would be honored
for our 10th, since we're doing 40th anniversaries or whatever.
Let's go for it.
10th anniversary. You guys are coming back. And then we're going to find out what other kind of crazy stuff Tim and his team of mad scientists has been cooking over there in Beaverton, Oregon.
And we can talk about our upcoming hunt that you and I have planned out too.
Yeah, so
that'll be a good topic.
You're going to get me in trouble, Bruce. So Bruce and I are at the sheep show, and he comes to me and he's like, "Man, you make this mountain caribou hunting look like a lot of fun." I'm like, "Well, it is a lot of fun." And he's like, "Well, let's go talk to Dustin and see." And Bruce, I'm just like, I wonder what he has in mind. And Bruce walks up there and signs us up with Dustin. And so I come back to the hotel room. I'm like, "Hey, Kim, you're talking about how I had kind of blown my hunting funds, my account over these last few years that I've been saving up." And she just looked at me like, "Oh, another once-in-a-lifetime hunt." Yeah, with air quotes, once in a lifetime. She's like, "You've had more once-in-a-lifetime hunts than most people have daily cups of coffee." So I'm blaming you for that, Bruce.
All right, I'll take it.
Talking me into it. But yeah, we'll be able to talk about that. It'll be the upcoming year.
We'll have to make sure that Tracy doesn't listen to this episode of Leupold's Hunt Talk Radio, since I have already told her that it was your idea, this hunt.
Well, okay, I'll take the fall because Kim doesn't listen to my podcast.
Perfect.
So she
feel like this is going to work really well.
Usually what happens is she says, "Well, I was at coffee or I was at Bible study today, and Jamie's husband said you said this on the podcast." So she gets it like third hand because she doesn't listen to
That's
it.
great.
But Jamie's husband must listen to it. Yeah. So he'll tell Jamie, Jamie tells Kim, and then she's like, "Well, you're pretty full of yourself." When you're not around, honey, all of us guys are full of ourselves when our wives aren't around.
Exactly.
Yeah. And her face, like, if she walked in this room right now, she'd say, like, "He's the boss at our house." That's what she always says. Like, when I'm around a bunch of hunting guys, and they're like, "Holy cow, how'd he pull that off? His wife lets him be the boss." And then she smirks and says, "Why not let him?"
Exactly.
But yeah, that's been a blessing in my life also, to find somebody who will put up with his screwball like me and let me go do these things. So, but appreciate it, guys. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
We'll see you tonight.
Yeah, we'll have fun tonight.
Yeah, we'll whoop it up big time.
All right.
Thanks for being here, folks.
When the sun came shining and I was strolling and the wheat fields waving and the dust clouds rolling, as the fog was lifting, a voice was chatting. This land was made for you and me. For you